do this. You can't be that the southern part of India and the western part of India grows in the eastern part, which is the most populous part of India. The eastern part comprises of 60% of your population. If you do not develop the eastern part of India, UP, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, all these states, then you'll have huge inequality in the country. And therefore you need the eastern part of India. You actually need 12 states of India to grow at 10% plus. That's the key challenge. 12 states of India to at least grow at 10% plus, to be able to enable India to grow at 9% plus. The fourth is that it's not possible for India to grow without, many of you are from MSMEs. I'm a great believer in MSMEs because they create jobs. I'm a great believer. In India, what happens is that in the MSME sector, 99% are micro enterprises. Micro enterprises do not become small. Small doesn't become medium at all in India. And it doesn't become small because we have too many large companies. The backward-forward integration between large and small doesn't take place. When Maruti came in, it created tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 companies. And therefore, you need many more large companies in India. We have very few large companies. India needs to create 10,000 large companies in India. Big, large companies which will then do backward integration with other suppliers, tier 2, tier 3 suppliers, so that the MSME ecosystem is created and the MSME sector grows enormously, and the micro sector then becomes small and the small becomes bigger, and there is a flow of liquid. A lot has been done for MSME in terms of first loss guarantees, etc., but you can't do this unless and until you have large companies, and that's critical for India, to my mind. And the fifth point is that it's important for India that it will not be possible for India to do this without hugely improving its human development index, its physical quality of life index. No country in the world, whether it was Korea, China, Japan, has been able to grow without improving learning outcomes, health outcomes, nutritional standards, and unless you don't transform, this is the key to long-term sustained growth. You can't grow on the back of a stunted population of wasted children, stunted children. You need to improve learning outcomes because almost 45% of your children studying in class 8 are not able to follow class 2 maths, class 2 physics, or class 2 English. Even in their mother tongues, they are not able to do this. So the learning outcomes have to radically improve, health outcomes have to improve, and the human development index has to improve radically. This, to my mind, these are the critical things on the domestic front. Now, I've given you what has been the transformation of India. I've given you what the global challenges are. I've told you what the domestic challenges for India are. And that India can't afford to grow on the back of 5 states. You need 12 states to grow at 10% plus. And it's very critical that the eastern part of India grows. But having said all this, the challenges, the global challenges, the domestic challenges, I strongly believe, and that this can be India's decade and this can be India's century. This can be India's decade and this can be India's century because India's demographics are very good. I mean, our average age is 29. Even when we become 120, 47, our average age will be 35. Rarely in the history of the world has a country not created wealth when it has low dependency burdens. And therefore, there's a huge opportunity to use the demographics of India to grow rapidly, and the young population of India, if it is well skilled, will enable India to grow rapidly, and therefore demographics are very favorable to India. The second key thing is that we must understand that India is the only country in the world which is today doing 30 kilometers of roads and 12 kilometers of railway line every day. No other country in the world is doing 30 kilometers of road and 12 kilometers of line. India is the only country in the world which is today actually doing 9 metros a year. 9 metros a year. No other country in the world is doing 9 metros a year. India is the only country in the world which has increased its solar energy 31x in the last 7 years. India is the only country in the world which does 50% of its payments through fast payments on the mobile. China is next with 20%. So demographics, infrastructure creation, use of technology to leapfrog all exist in India. No other country in the world has this ability to do this. But the world of geopolitics we must understand. And that is that United States of America is the only country which controls 28% of the global GDP. It controls 48% of the market cap with just 4% of the population. The United States has maintained its share for the last 3 decades. It's a highly innovative society because of a lot of H-1B visa going there. Only because of the H-1B visas. The Europe share, which used to be 30%, has come down to less than 15%. Europe share has come down from 30% to 15%. China's share is going up. China's share is close to about 19%. So the quest in geopolitics is, America realizes that on cutting edge technology, China is getting closer and closer to the United States of America, and the United States, to retain its leadership, must control China. And this quest for protectionism, this quest for saying that we'll not give you technology, or the quest for deep negotiations is all happening. The breakdown of supply chain is happening because of the United States realization that the global order in the last 3 decades has worked to its disadvantage. Its huge disadvantage. And therefore the developed world will always work to its own advantage and not to your advantage. And it's important for India to use its size and scale to do cutting edge transformation, to use its political will to transform India. And in my view, it is the only country in the world which has today, because of its demographics and the large number of reforms that have been introduced, the structural reforms, the digitization, the infrastructure that has been created, it will have a huge multiplier effect in the coming years. And it's very, very important. I'm a great believer in free enterprise. My belief is that only the private sector can make India grow. Government can only be a catalyst, but the private sector of India must generate wealth, and it is for people like you sitting in this room to really drive India's growth and prosperity, create jobs, and take India from $4 trillion to a $30 trillion country. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, sir. What an inspiring lecture, sir. Really spellbound. And we'll take some questions. Is it okay? Yeah. Mentimeter? So over 1,040 people are watching it online. I already got quite a number of questions. We'll put it on the screen. Meanwhile,
I think first of all, I want to thank Mr. Kant for an amazing exposition of what lies ahead, what is behind us, what's in front of us. I think and I also enjoy the energy that it demonstrated when he spoke. I think, I always complain to my son, he speaks very fast. And I always have a problem listening to him when he speaks. But this gentleman spoke so fast, but every word was actually clear and separated. The speed is not the problem. It's how the burst gets rolled in is a problem. And I realized that speed with which he delivered the speech was not an handicap for anybody to listen to what he was saying. So thank you very much, sir. I think before the question comes up, we're talking about the next few years, 22 years from now, you want to become 30+ trillion economy. What are the risks that we need to be worried about in the journey to 2047?
There are many risks, and I elucidated on some of them. One which is, the lack of political will to do good, smart urbanization, because you can end up with very poor, polluting cities, which is increasingly will become a burden for the citizens. I elucidated to the fact that what you're seeing today is a huge disruption in technology. If AI is going to be the biggest source of transformation, look at the size and scale of transformation. Our AI mission is talking about 30,000 NVIDIA GPUs. OpenAI alone signed a deal with NVIDIA for 11 gigawatts, which is 5 million latest computing powers, Blackwell. 5 million. That's the size and scale of transformation happening in the world. So you need to disrupt. What China is doing is it's copying our model of digital public infrastructure and doing open source disruption in AI. So we'll have to do more and more of open source, disrupt everything what the United States is doing, but you'll have to build large language models so that, otherwise what will happen is tomorrow you will ask, look at what is happening in India. Airtel has tied up with Perplexity, Jio has tied up with Gemini, AICTE has said that you can get onto ChatGPT. 5,000 universities of India will get tied up with, have free access to ChatGPT. It's not free access. They're saying free access, but all your data is going to ChatGPT, it's going to Perplexity, it's going to Gemini, and they will then develop AI products and sell them to you at huge costs and huge prices. This will be neo-colonization in another form. We must understand that this is new colonization in another form, and therefore the earlier we develop our own large language models, and then once we've developed them, ask Indians to use those large language models, because the data will make it better and better and better. Otherwise, we'll all be colonized for the next 100 years. These are the risks. These are the challenges. If we keep persisting with outdated technology, fossil fuel cars, I'm glad that Mahindra is making EV vehicles in Tamil Nadu. Now Tata's is making EV vehicles. You have to disrupt the existing model and get onto technology which will enable you to leapfrog. If you do not do that, and I'm particularly glad that TVS here has taken the lead in electric vehicle scooters, and and one IIT student who started, IIT Chennai student who started Ather actually, from the research park here, has actually done a lot of disruption. So these are companies which are doing disruption. You need to accelerate the pace of that disruption. And the government, we must understand, is always behind regulation. In regulation, it is behind innovation. So government also's regulations have to be ahead of innovation. That's important, that we should force the industry to move ahead on innovation. That's critical. And that's important. And so these are the key risks to my mind. The third key risk is that inequitable growth, that some part of India are growing, other parts of India are not growing. Actually, to my mind, the eastern part of India needs to grow at rates of, because they have a low base, they need to grow at 11-12% for the next 3 decades. That has to be the key focus. It'll be very difficult for Karnataka and Tamil Nadu to keep growing at 11, because you're already 6 feet high. You're 6 feet high, you can't become 7 and 8 feet. But for them, someone who is already 3 feet, for him to reach 6.5 feet is easier. So it's the eastern part of India, because it's the most populous part of India, is very important, very critical. That's
very well said. Now, the manufacturing sector has been a laggard in terms of our growth. If you look at our structure in India, economy of India, manufacturing contributes actually year after year less and less. And you said it's going to grow 16 times to get to the number that you want. Is it achievable?
It's very much doable. The policy on Apple has demonstrated that you can, Apple is today producing about 23% of its total production from India. A lot of that from Tamil Nadu and Andhra. If Apple can do it, why should we not be able to attract Dell, Cisco, everyone else? That should be the next step for that. And it's very much doable. Why not? I mean, India doesn't lack skilled manpower. India doesn't lack... America is not going to have women doing 24/7 manufacturing of mobiles, even if Trump wants it. And even if he forces women of America to do mobile manufacturing on assembly line, the cost of the mobile phone will be $150 more. So it's not feasible. But it's very much doable in India. So without that, it will be very impossible to grow with jobs. Impossible. That's the key. But for that, industry also needs to put a lot of resources into R&D, innovation. That's critical. Indian R&D, Indian industry has been a laggard in R&D. Huge laggard.
While I have inhibitions about what you said, let me not get into debate. We'll have private debate on that.
That is because you are an advertising man.
That's true. I want to get... We have actually about close to 2,000 people listening to you online.
Okay. So, well, first of all, India, on reforms, I think India must become very easy, very simple. We should scrap a lot of more rules, regulation, procedures, paperwork that we do in India. Our regulators tend to over-regulate at times. We do not allow private sector to grow rapidly. So my view is very strong on ease of doing business. That's very, very critical that we should scrap almost 85% of our rules and regulations to enable India to grow. India is highly overregulated. Number two, this reform process has to be pushed in the states. The reform center is done, but the next set of reforms has to happen in the states. That's critical to my mind. Very, very important. And the third, as I said, is very important, that we improve states' focus on, and that's totally the job of the states. States focus on improving learning outcomes, health outcomes, nutrition. That's very critical. Those are key things for India. It will not be able to sustain the growth levels of what you are talking without that. And without that, you won't be able to do skilling. You can't, you need skilled manpower. 30% of the world's skilled manpower will be provided by India by 2047. All the skilled hoteliers, all general managers who used to come from Switzerland will all be coming from India. So you need skilled manpower. 30% of the skilled manpower. No other country will have the population to provide skilled manpower. They'll have no people. All the people will come from India. You'll be running UK, you'll be running Italy, you'll be running France, you'll be running Germany. Yeah, I'm telling you. You're laughing, but you mark my word. By 2047, you'll be running all these places. I'm saying this because Rishi Sunak already has been the Prime Minister of England. So all these countries will have Indian Prime Ministers. Only if you produce skilled. Oh. But for that, you need skilled manpower. Yeah.
Okay, I want to take the next question from
all you guys should aim to produce children who will start managing these countries. And all of you are not old enough. You can still produce. Technology enables you to do that.
Ramesh, you want a question?
I joined journalism in 1988, so I had good fortune to chronicle India's progress. Transformative phase. So my chest swells with pride when I see what we have achieved. However, there is one very disappointing feature in what we have done or what we have not done, which is the state of our city, the lack of cleanliness, lack of neatness. We all travel abroad, we see how beautiful the cities are. Sir, Chennai has 3 rivers. If anybody in this hall dares to take a dip in any of these rivers and lives for 1 year, he can have my entire PF money. The traffic is chaotic. We have cows and bullocks sitting in the middle of Mount Road here. Has this engaged the attention of Niti Aayog? I know there is Swachh Bharat mission is there. I understand that. Beyond that, why can't we keep our cities clean? Such a simple thing to do.
For this, it's citizens like you and me who are responsible. We don't do segregation of waste at our house. We dump garbage outside. We create filth everywhere, and then we start blaming him. Municipal governance is a function of what the citizens do and what they demand from their municipality. We don't as citizens, you exercise your responsibility. If the whole of Chennai the citizens of Chennai create a movement, you will force the municipality to act. So firstly, the citizens, secondly, municipal governance. If Indore can do it, Indore does house-to-house segregation, there's a sense of pride. If Surat can do it, if Mysore can do it, why shouldn't Chennai do it? You go to Indore, not one peck of dust or garbage or paper, filth anywhere. You go to Surat used to be the filthiest city. If it can be transformed into the second best city, if Mysore can be done, if Vizag can do it, why can't you do it? Chennai? Because of the citizens being lazy. Don't blame government for everything. No, as business line chief, you start a bloody movement in the city of Chennai to make it the cleanest city like Indore. That's the responsibility we owe to us. People in Delhi talk about this. People of Delhi are responsible for all the garbage, the filth, the bad air quality because they don't take ownership. And the worst of the lot are people who live in urban areas. And they're self-centered, they care only for themselves, nothing for others.
Hema Hari wants to ask a question.
Namaste, I'm Hema Hari. You explained so lucidly the entire chain of flow, the cause, effect, and the analysis was so good in such a short time. The one thing which I felt can make all this also possible is a shared vision across the entire country. And how are we going to take such messages which are predominantly now confined to conclaves? We are now talking that we need to create these kind of opportunities. Yes, these kind of conclaves will create the opportunities, but to fill those opportunities, those skilled manpower, they have to be charged with the same vision that you are explaining. And unless that happens in the lingo that they can understand and can reach the rural tier 1, tier 2 areas, this shared vision, people should be living and breathing this. So how can we do that is my question.
Madam, Mr. Swamy asked me to speak to you people. He didn't ask me to transform India. Expecting me to transform the whole of India, very difficult. I can motivate and inspire some people, but not the whole of India.
Last row, give the point to Ravi.
Well, my name is Srinivasan Kasturi. I have one doubt about it. It's very interesting to know every point of yours to go into record or something. But one thing is missing. What happened to the linking of rivers, which the government of India has not been taking into account? They had been talking about bullet train, this, that, and everything. Yes, everything is acceptable. That facilitates only a fraction of the people that may immediately push your GDP. But what happened to the linking of rivers, which is a nerve system of the agricultural system? When I was a boy with 15 years, 14 years, when I go to a cinema theater, the news review will go for just 10-15 minutes. It will show Biharil Vellam, அடுத்த slide, Rajasthanil Varachi. The same situation is happening even today. One part of the country is flooded with water and there is heavy damages to the properties. So many people has been killed, clan sites, this and that and other thing. The other section of the country, we see there is absolutely, look, even in Tamil Nadu itself, even one small state cannot able to control the rivers. What else? Why the government cannot able to focus on this vital infrastructure which may not be immediately boost your GDP, but in the slow run it can go. Thank you. If I am wrong, I apologize. Thank you.
No, for linking of rivers, it's an important question. But for linking of rivers, Madras Management Association should invite me for another lecture. It's a great subject of debate and discussion, but I would suggest that all of us should start with preservation, conservation, recycling of water, recycling of waste. If you recycle your water and save your rainwater conservation, Singapore was to end its treaty with Malaysia in 50s. It did not have any drop of water. It did not link its rivers. Today, every water is recycled. It's used as human water. Your excreta water is used as human water for consumption because Singapore had a challenge. It had a scarcity challenge. Chennai has a massive scarcity problem. I think the challenge for you is to recycle every drop of rainwater, every dual piping system, everything. That is what you people should push for. Linking of river is a long-term project which will require another subject of discussion.
Thank you. Last question from the gentleman there. You wanted to say something? Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, you're doing last twice.
Last question.
You're asking more questions than UPSC asked me in my exam.
You're going to make the last question.
My name is Raju. In your article, you have mentioned recently that India has to monetize the infrastructure investment trust, and 3 trillion is a worldwide thing, and Germany, Japan are leading. Today, government is thinking of NHA to monetize the assets. These are the things where we need to pass on the knowledge to people. And
very important question.
Another lady who has asked, how do we do it? Each one of us, we have our servants, we have our employees who are entering the job from cities down the line. We all can share these knowledges. We need not be politically aligned. We can share this, that unless every Indian puts in, we are not going to reach that 30 plus trillion. Even if we reach, we won't be stable. So culture has to build up. And every one of us have to drive the change in culture.
Absolutely. So very important statement and very important question. So I'd written about this, and actually when I was CEO Niti Aayog, I started this asset monetization pipeline. My aim was that the Prime Minister had approved it, the Finance Minister had pushed for it. The intention was that, government sits on a lot of assets because all assets are created by government. Roads are created, expressways are created, warehouses are created, power grids are created, all created by government. But in India, the productivity and efficiency levels are low because government is very poor at operation and maintenance. It can create, but its operations are very poor. Its toll collections, there'll be leakages. And therefore, I had said that all these assets which government has should be monetized by doing InvITs, by doing REITs, by putting them out into private domain so that we have better operation and maintenance. Government is not selling them, but government is doing InvITs and REITs for 30 years, 50 years, 60 years, all of that. Government running a Shoka hotel in Delhi, it makes no sense to me. Why should the government run hotel now? So government should do asset monetization. You should have Four Seasons or Ritz-Carlton or Shangri, somebody else running it. So why I feel that all these warehouses work through very low efficiency. Roads can be better managed, operated. Expressways can be better operated. Power grids can be better operated. If India has done airports earlier, through private sector, we should do railway stations. That's my belief. Many other areas we should get in. Private, long-term growth of India, sustainable growth of 9 to 10% will not happen without the private sector being the key driver. It can't happen with government. Like renewable energy, it happened. Government just pushed for the policy change, but private sector came in. Because the private sector came in, it was able to attract private equity, venture funds, many other things. So technology comes in through the private sector then. That's what happened. And therefore, my belief is that asset monetization is very, very critical. Thank you. So I'm really thankful to the Management Association here. One more question.
$70 trillion. It is told that in America it is about 30 to $38 trillion natural resources availability. In China it is $30 trillion. But at the same time we are lacking and having only a meager amount of less than $4 trillion. In such a conditions, in the lesser availability of the natural resources, how can we achieve that much amount of $30 trillion ideas?
No. There's no shortage of. Let me assure you that there is no shortage of natural resources in this country. You look at the deserts of Rajasthan, that can be the biggest area for renewable energy. That's the highest plant load factor you can get on efficiency. There's no shortage of. You know how much water is getting into our agriculture sector? 89.8% of India's water is going to agriculture sector, which is not recycled, which is not because you are giving free power. We have to make ourselves more efficient. We have to raise our productivity levels. There's no shortage. Don't be under this illusion. India is full of natural resources. And this Management Association of Madras must absolutely clear your mind that India is the richest in terms of natural resources. Thank you very much. My thanks. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. What is transformed Niti Aayog and G20 Sherpa, and one of the finest leaders India has got. I think he deserves a standing ovation from the best management in India. Thank you, Mr. Abdul. It's a pleasure. Now I request Mr. Swamy to step forward along with the King to present a memento on behalf of MMA, sir.